October 2021 is the very definition of a hold my beer month, and if it wasn't already, as games jostled and moved around, it slowly became that. Here are 10 games in a stuffed month that I am excited for. What do you want? Pop off in the comments on the games that you're interested in. Let's begin. Subscribe if you can. Number 1, Alan Wake Remastered. Now, if you're surprised by this, well, I don't know how you're surprised by this if you've ever watched the channel. This title is one of my favorites, supporting DLSS in the remaster, as well as improved texture resolutions, optimizations to graphics, and a ton of lighting changes. Alan Wake Remastered is hitting in the perfect month for a horror game to see its best audience. While Remedy has clarified that nothing is actually going to be able to change gameplay-wise, meaning you can still change out the world's shittiest rechargeable batteries every 10 seconds and live in what feels like a cell phone commercial the rest of the time, you also get to explore the incredible city of Bright Falls. It also means that for fans of the original's third-person controls, you should get exactly what you want. Yes, that means the two of you who actually thought Alan Wake controlled very well, you guys are going to get it. The rest of us, still going to have to deal with a little bit of that stiff Alan Wake should have stretched beforehand movement. All kidding aside, this is a great third-person horror game, and it's a best friend named Barry simulator also. Who wears the fuck out of a red Coleman vest like Barry? What was originally an open-world game, Remedy massaged into one of my favorite horror games of all time, and while it's a remaster and not a sequel that I wanted, okay, that's actually it. There is no positive to that. It sucks, but here we are. Remaster coming out this October. That brings us to number 2, Far Cry 6. Replacing the forested, red-necked wild wilderness of white-powdered mania Montanians with the sun-dappled islands of a fictional Caribbean island ruled by El Presidente. Sure, Far Cry's never really stretched the narrative chops. You take on the role of Danny, working through Far Cry 6, much like the last Far Cry games. Taking over locations, trying to get the natives to trust you enough to help you take down evil, all the while shooting everybody around you. 4 years in the making, and baked into this narrative a deep-set desire to show what revolution feels like. Far Cry games may skew absolutely batshit insane a lot of times, but at some point, you have to get it right? For a lot of people, they'd argue they already have. For me, personally, I'm hoping for a more delicate style of story and game world that's a little less crazy. Now, while most of the industry is going to be too busy masturbating into leave a penny jars with their own thoughts on just how political or non-political the game is, a lot of gamers are just going to be looking to see if the story is entertaining, if the gunplay in their game is actually enjoyable, and just how fun it can be to have a pet chicken in a shooting game. The largest Far Cry game to date, and later DLC that's going to allow you to revisit various villains in the series, Far Cry 6 looks to, at the very least, try to up the stakes of the previous entries when it comes to the worldview. We're just going to have to see if shooting, looting, scooting, and booting a bevy of cars while bringing Viva la Revolution to a country is going to be as enjoyable as running around a countryside shooting a bunch of druggies. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to find out. Number 3, Metroid Dread. A 2D game coming out October 8th, and goddamn, this game looks good. 2D Metroid action with one of the worst names in gaming. Samus tries to escape a deadly alien world in pure platform action. The trailers have looked absolutely sleek. The location's dark and somewhat terrifying. And if you want to help make gaming horrible, you can also buy Nintendo's overpriced amiibo. And if you touch it once a day, it gives you more missiles. While that alone is a terrible design to latchkey weapon upgrades to horrible statues that you might as well just have a picture of a $ on, Dread has been awaited by the gaming community forever, since it was leaked around, 2,000 years ago. A 2D game following Samus across a deep, dark, dire world and looking slick the entire way through. Count me in. A 2D Metroid also fits perfectly with the Switch, and the trailer shows just how you can handle platforming well on a screen that size. It's going to be up to see if this can equal the likes of other titles like, for example, Ori and the Blind Forest on the Switch, but I, for one, think has a very good chance. Made by a stellar team with a stellar IP, the video game Magic 8 Ball on this one says most likely. And that brings us to number 4, Back 4 Blood. Left 4 Blood, Evolve the Bloodening, whatever you want to call it, Back 4 Blood is a 4-person location-based level shooting title which has you and up to 3 friends working through the levels, killing enemies, taking on missions, upgrading characters, getting weapons as you go. While Back 4 Blood is coming out October 12th, it has been shown a number of times, including betas, and the card-based system seems to work very well for keeping gamers interested in power-ups and teamwork between one another. We'll see how long that interest actually keeps up, though. All this is basically not mentioning that the game is about zombies, or in this case, creatures created from a deadly parasite. So yeah, also zombies. Heavy weapons, heavy atmosphere, and a heavy emphasis on teamwork. I can't wait to see how this works. And even though it is zombies, once again, there's still a very good monster to face when it comes to these games. And whether it's parasites or whether it's some undead zombie, it really doesn't matter. They work very well in these kind of environments. I think these guys know exactly what they're doing. Back 4 Blood looks to be awesome. And surprisingly enough, that brings us to number 5, and I can't believe it's on this list, Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's crazy to be putting this on a top anything list, unless that video title has like depressing as shit in the wording, but over and over again, the people who've had a touch on with this game have actually come away highly impressed by the single player game with a focus on teamwork and the various Guardians and how they work and they look and the story, with none of the clumsiness of the Avengers games and a much closer connection to older titles that had characters you could switch to in team environments prior to multiplayer being such a big thing. It looks pretty goddamn good. Footage of the game continues to come out and it impresses. It's got crazy tag teams and special move effects as the characters take down various enemies, but it also alters how they work together as you move through the story, and you can choose various different parts and what you want to do in it. This is a game that shows that resources and aim combined with focus on one particular aspect of an IP may end up paying far more than throwing some microtransactions in and trying to flip over every consumer upside down like you're watching a cartoon and shaking them for their money. I think we can all agree, though, Star-Lord, he still looks terrible. If a douche somehow grew hair implants and stitched on 2 legs, it would still look better than this reject from Dead Rising 2 looks. But we can hope that the character's look is far worse than he actually plays or acts in the game. While Cyberpunk showed everyone that preview events, betas, and overall coverage of many titles just can't be trusted and should rightly be questioned, it's interesting to see that the negative slants have turned into positive comments so often by those playing this third-person action game. All jokes aside, I am really interested to see how this turns out. And that brings us to number 6. I don't know how it's possible, but it's easy to forget Age of Empires. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at all. Age of Empires is a great grandparent of real-time cultural strategy games. It's a majestic mix of fast frenzied combat and interesting empire growth. Age of Empires has a massive fan base for a very good reason. Even without nostalgia glasses, most of the games are actually excellent. And here we are with another release coming in October, leaping in, continuing and creating those cultures and mini kingdoms to take on your enemies. Starting out October 28th, we're going to be leaping into maps, leeching resources off one another, and leaving other people behind as we control the cultures, we destroy everybody else, and one of us raises our hand in victory in this real-time strategy game. I'm a massive Age of Empires fan, and also, it's made by Relic. Now, few companies can garner so much confidence like Relic can actually gain. This is a single company that has Homeworld, Company of Heroes, and Warhammer 40,000 under its belt, and now it's driving towards Age of Empires. Also, Warhammer 40,000, not only the RTS games, but Space Marine. At some point, you just have them working on a game and you pretty much instantly pre-order it. Let's hope that pre-ordering pays off. Age of Empires, once again, October 28th. And another company that's already been on this list once, number 7, Steep 2. Or Riders Republic, whichever one you want to call it. This is a multi-sport, multi-action, multiplayer game. It's got up to 50 players in some of the events. Everything in Riders Republic is about coolness. It's so edgy you can cut yourself on the trailers and that extreme fashion. Riders Republic is what we all think we look like before we end up in the hospital so broken we can lick our own ankles easily. It's got wingsuits and snowboarding. It's got mountain biking, skiing, rocket wingsuits. The game actually takes huge parts of various places in America and stitches them together into one massive open world mountain, including Grand Tetons, Bryce Canyon, Yosemite, and more. Ubisoft has prided themselves on aiming for fun with a difference, basically, versus situations where the activities and the bikes, the snowboards, and other equipment would be perfectly replicated. This is more towards action, but not necessarily fully arcade in its control, and that's what you get with Riders Republic. However, a bit like Guardians of the Galaxy, the positive word from people playing this is hard to ignore, coming for the PC, the PlayStation, Stadia, and Xbox, and it has crossplay. That alone kills a huge problem that many of us gamers have when you find out it's just you and 5 foul-mouthed 9-year-olds are the only ones playing a game on your own platform. It's going to be a wild ride in October for this game, and it's a swamped month. I hope to see that this title does well, and I hope, well, even more so, that it is good. And that brings us to number 8. FIFA 22. Less said the better. It's FIFA. The series has grifted gamers for years without much improvement, and like other numbered sports games, their reliance on that Lemmings-like ability of gamers to pretend somehow everything has changed one year to the next means they're going to run in there and buy it anyway. Let's be honest, FIFA doesn't suddenly have fucking minefields in it. So yeah, enjoy it if that's your thing. It's not necessarily for me, but I know it's a huge game, so it's got to be on this list. Moving on from there to actually good games, number 9. Dying Light for Switch. If that's not a total mind screw to say out loud, nothing is. Dying Light, it's no graphical slouch, so when the zombie parkour hack and slash game was actually announced for the Switch, my initial thoughts was something along the lines of, what does 128p resolution actually look like on a screen? However, I'm hearing it's coming along, and while the game will take some graphical hits for sure, and probably still have head bob on despite it making no sense at all and making me the sickest I've probably ever been in a video game, I will probably buy this game. Dying Light is pure stupid flight of fantasy for me. It's first-person hack and slash. It's an action game in a world where the zombie virus is spread everywhere, and you work through the game's story by taking on various jobs for the characters around the tower, which is a main building some of the characters have taken on for themselves. Absolutely nothing about what I just said is in any way original. It's the fact that it's on the Switch and that Dying Light already has a pedigree. It's proved with professionalism and grace. That original game is fantastic. Let's just hope on the Switch it's not just dying. And that brings us to number 10. Resident Evil 4 VR. So this is for Oculus, so celebrating its coming is also tempered by that fact of the complete shit VR system attached to Facebook by the unbreakable tether of your own personal data just being shot out into the internet. However, Resident Evil 7 was incredible in VR, even on the Vaseline resolution of the PS4. So leaping into this game, playing some more Resident Evil is incredibly exciting. Resident Evil, for many fans, is a favorite when it comes to VR and an ideal that they're always shooting for, and means that a lot of people are probably going to jump into this. Also, let's hope it does well, because maybe we can see Resident Evil 7 and 8 possibly move to PC VR, and I actually mean real VR and not the Oculus without the tethering to stores or companies or all your information getting out. I'm really excited for this title just for the sheer fact that it could push VR into another stratosphere that we need, and I am a huge fan of Resident Evil 7 VR, so the honest truth is, no, I won't get it, but it's still cool that it's coming out. And that brings us to some honorable mentions real quickly. Dark Pictures, House of Ashes, the third in a series of games that have not done well at all for me. 1 and 2 have been sort of surprisingly subpar, but I'm excited to see how this one wraps up, and I'm hoping to review that. We've also got Voice of Cards, which is a weird card game that we saw during the Nintendo Direct video. There wasn't enough out there for me to really put this on the list. We got Riftbreaker, and I know a ton of my patrons and a ton of people on the internet have been really excited for that. Speaking of exciting, guys, October. I could go on. I could do 20 videos. October is going to be nuts. I hope you're as excited for me for gaming. If you are, pop off in the comments. What games do you want? What games do you not want? What games are you excited for? What are you hoping to save a little money for and possibly get? You're going to see reviews on almost all of these. Well, mostly all of them, as I can do. You're also going to see some more walking the walks from me. I can't wait to show you some of the stuff I'm doing. If you've noticed some of the changes in the videos and some more stuff coming along, some more professionalism in a couple when it comes to the presentation and the graphics and that kind of thing, that's just the start. Stick with ACG if you want no BS reviews, and probably no future previews either from companies, especially if they're shipping you somewhere to show you a game that's not even real. Anyway, that's it for me. Peace out.